Hi everyone, Fran here. As I sit in my house, eating what I want to eat, drinking my coffee just the way I like it, I seldom think about how others are living in the world. My guest on Hopenning this week is author Roza Alomar, who was born in northern Iraq and who at the age of 10 years old in 2014 had her life change forever when ISIS invaded her village and took her and her family as hostages, and she never saw her dad again. The interview outlines what happened to her and how she ended up as a refugee and immigrant in Calgary, Alberta, Canada. I hope you stay with me, and welcome to the Hopenning.
Hello, everyone, and welcome to the Hopenning. This is the place where hope is happening. And I have a guest here today that it just makes me want to cry. And I don't often say that at the beginning of my shows because this show is all about hope. But my guest here today is Roza Alomar. She's a young woman from northern Iraq who wrote the book called I Survived ISIS. Welcome, Roza.
Thank you. Thank you so much, Fran, for having me. And thank you so much for reading the book. And thank you for taking the time and the effort to share this book and share and talk about the Yazidis and their experience and what had happened to them. Thank you so much.
Oh, it's an honor. It is an honor. We both live now full time in Alberta. I live in northern Alberta and you live in southern Alberta. You are in Calgary, correct? Roza, you are of Yazidi heritage, an indigenous group that lives in northern Iraq. So when I, a Canadian of Alberta, who has lived in Alberta my whole life, thinks of Iraq, I think that everyone there is Muslim. But that's not true, is it? So
No,
what is your indigenous group?
we are called Yazidis. We are a very small and minority group, mostly located in northern Iraq, Syria, Turkey, Iran, Armenia, and many have been immigrated to other countries like Canada and Germany and other countries after genocides. Yazidis are Yazidis believe in God and seven angels. Yazidis' way in prayers and their way to God or giving their thanks to God is through an angel called Malak Taus. Malak Taus is the leader of the seven angels, and we believe in God. So, because of that, and because of the Arabic language, many Muslims have believed that Yazidis pray to a peacock or to an animal. So, because of that, many Arabs think that the Yazidi people are infidels, and the Yazidi people, because they pray to a peacock, which is not true. It just has the same name that they're supposed to get rid of the Yazidis, and we are considered infidels in in Iraq. And Yazidis, because of that, they've been through 74 genocides throughout the years. From a community of 37 to 40 million people, the Yazidi people have become less than 1.5 million because of the genocides and the wars that they've been through, and because of this very small misunderstanding that the Arabs or the people surrounding the Yazidis have heard or like taken about the Yazidi people.
Right. So your life, you are,
I'm 21.
okay, so you're 21 years old, 21, and yet half of your life you have either been displaced or running with your family away from ISIS. Now, the time that you had as a child before ISIS invaded your small town of Shingal, what was your life like before the age of 10 in northern Iraq as a Yazidi little girl?
As a young Yazidi girl, my life was very simple. It was very beautiful. We lived in the city, and my dad and my grandpa with my uncles and cousins owned a farm beside the city in a small area called Solah. So growing up, we would go to school in Shingal, and my mom and my aunt, we lived together in Shingal. I had a lot of friends from different cultures, different religion. I went to school. I loved school. I had okay grades, and everything was very beautiful and simple. And during our time off of school, we would go to the farm to help my grandpa with his farm work, or to just go see the cows, the animals, and the life that we didn't had in the in the city. So it was very beautiful, and it was very simple. And to think about it, back then it was very peaceful. There was no racism, or there wasn't any shown to us, or like we didn't thought we will ever be treated different or this horrible because of our religion. And we had a lot of family and friends living around us. We had people being our neighbors of many, many years, and being so close together despite our different cultures and religion. So I believe it was very beautiful until it was all taken from me at very young age.
Yeah. What happened in the summer of 2014? The first event, you were 10 years old, and what happened to your grandfather?
So my grandfather, his name is Haidar Ahmed. He was a very good man, and he was very nice to everybody. He didn't see different in people, he didn't see different in culture and religions. He believed that everybody is supposed to, or like everybody have to treat the other people with respect and kindness. So this being his idea or his mindset, and making sure we grow up with this mindset and we don't forget that if we're just all human despite our differences, or the differences we didn't choose to, because you are born with the religion, within the religion, so that's nothing you choose. And he didn't believe in hating anyone because of that. So in July of 2014, just a month before the Yazidi genocide, in my grandpa's farm in Solah, my grandpa brought in 83 families from the Shia community. Shias are a different group of Muslims in Iraq, and when ISIS came in, they were trying to get rid of them too. So when that happened and they ran away from Tel Afar and Mosul, my grandpa had them in the farm and made sure to come down to the city to buy them food and essentials and everything they need to stay alive in there or to eat. So when that was happening, and ISIS or the people with ISIS heard about this, and the people of the city, they didn't like the idea of my grandpa doing that. So when he was taking food for them and his way home, at a gas station less than 500 meters from my grandpa's farm, he was shot and killed with more than 10 guns and with 10 shots, and we lost him in July before the Yazidi genocide. My dad was my dad lived in the farm most of his time. So when my dad saw his car and heard the gunshots, he just got in his car and drove there to see what is happening. And when he got there, he saw my grandpa's body on the floor, and nobody dared to get close to him or to help him. And when my dad took him to the hospital, he was already wasn't responding. Sorry, and he wasn't there anymore.
Right. So you and your family were mourning the loss of your grandfather and took his body and buried the body in the mountains. So what is the significance of the mountains in northern Iraq to the Yazidi people?
So our graveyard, or where our people get buried, it's mostly in the mountains because throughout the genocides and the war and everything that the Yazidi people have been through for 74 times, Yazidis believe they're their only safe place, or the only place that they're gonna keep the Yazidi culture alive and have a chance to keep this beautiful religion going is in the mountains, and they've always stayed in the mountain for safety, and it never doubted them, and they've always stayed safe in the mountain.
Yeah. And the mountains play a significant role in your book. The mountains for your people is the way to safety. There's caves, there are ways that your people can stay safe in the mountains away from whoever is trying to hurt you. So what happened after your grandfather died? So in the book, you call ISIS Daesh. And there's a reason for that. So, I mean, it's up to you. In the interview, we can call them ISIS, we can call them Daesh. It's up to you. But who is ISIS? What was their intent? You talked a little bit about it already, the genocide of the Yasidi people because of the religious differences and because in the Arabic word that Yasidi means peacock.
Malak Taus, the angel, means peacock in Arabic. So
Okay, so Malak, the name of the angel means peacock. So for that, they want to eradicate your people. But ISIS also invaded all of Iraq at that point in 2014. They didn't just invade the northern part, they invaded all of Iraq. So, can you give us a little bit of background about that history and why they did that?
So Daesh, or ISIS, they call themselves ISIS because it's called the Islamic States of Iraq and Syria, or it's like a powerful word that they wanted to people to know them, or the world to see them as a country, as like an Islamic country. So in Iraq, we call them Daesh because the word Daesh is an Arabic word, which means it's something that it got stepped on. And I think ISIS deserves to be called Daesh more than the other word, because that's what happened when they came into Iraq in 2014. They were there to share Sharia law. I'm sure you know what that means. And to make sure it becomes a country based on only Muslim Sunnis, and that's the only right religion or culture. So when that happened, and in 2014 they came, they made sure they were getting rid of the Yazidis, the Shia, the Christians of Iraq, and even the Kurds. Although they were Sunnis, but because of the different language or the difference in the ideology, or what they didn't have the same thoughts. So when Daesh came, their plan was to just get rid of the Yazidis and to have a full Islamic country, or to switch Iraq into a Sharia law country.
Right. So that was the way they were going to do it. They were going to invade, they were going to oppress people, turn them into slaves, kill them, or take them as sexual slaves as well. And you outline this very carefully, very well in the book. So, what happened in August of 2014?
So in August of 2014, on August 3rd, the night before, we could hear the gunshots and we knew that it's not going pretty well. The Yazidi men and the Yazidi people tried to defend themselves, like now in the city and the small villages, before you get into the city, and they didn't had quite fair weapons or anything. They were just simple Yazidi farmers and people, simple people trying to live. And when they saw the city was being taken over, they tried to fight and win. And that fight went on until early in the morning of August 3rd. On when they saw they can't take over or they can't control or like get Daesh to go away. Unfortunately, they didn't had a chance. They didn't had any other option just to run away to the Yazidi mountains or the Shingal mountain. So when that happened, my family and I went to my dad's farm. Um, my dad thought it would be a good idea to go to the farm and to stay there for better safety. So when we went to the farm and my other family members gathered and came to the farm with us, at around 1 p.m. we got a phone call from a family member in United States, and we told them that we're staying in the farm for better safety. He told my family that it's not a good plan and we have to get to the mountain for better safety. And he told us that everybody's lying and ISIS is not there just to share Sharia Allah, as they say. They're they're coming to kill the Yazidis. They're coming to kill the men, take the women into sexual slavery. He begged my family to go and protect themselves. So when my dad and my uncles heard that, my family drove to the mountains, and when we got to the mountain, my my family got another call from a neighbor, my dad's neighbor of 25 years. So being so hot, the weather being so hot, and my grandma being unwell, and everybody being so scared, they were they were just hoping to hear something good, like a good news. When the neighbor told my dad and my family that everybody's lying and making up stuff, he said, "No, the everybody's lying. Come back. Everything's okay. Come stay in your house. Nothing's gonna happen to you. ISIS is just here for the Muslim Shias and just to share Sharia Allah here and do nothing with the Yazidis." So my dad believed that, and my family returned from the mountains, unfortunately. Um, at that time, we didn't know that our neighbor was also with Daesh. And when that happened, and we came back from the mountain, ISIS was already waiting for my family and surrounded my dad and my uncles with their car and took them into captivity. And when they got them, they took everything they had on themselves, including their IDs, money, phones, anything my family had, weapons, and they drove us to farmers market beside my dad's farm, and they separated the women from the men, and they took us to Talafar. And after that, we never heard anything from my dad or my uncles or any male member of my family ever since.
So there were family members that didn't listen, did not believe the neighbor. So there were 5 cars full of family.
Yeah, my dad and
Go
his
ahead.
brothers, and we had my cousin's uncle with us. So we were 5 cars in total. And when my family they listened to the neighbor, unfortunately, because he was my dad's neighbor for 25 years. So knowing someone for 25 years and being almost like a family, it's like you're gonna believe them, you know what I mean? But unfortunately, that was
Yeah.
what ruined our lives.
Yeah. And some of your family got away. Some of your extended family did get to the mountains.
So from my family, or let's say my dad's side of the family, only one cousin survived, while everybody else got caught by ISIS and was taken into captivity. From my mom's side, thankfully, everybody was freed and everybody was got to the mountains. Yeah.
Right. So first they separated the women with small children from the men and older boys. Where did they take the women?
So there were some stores. They took the men into separate stores and they kept us in the store. And when they separated everybody, and then they got cars and trucks, and they just loaded all of the women's and the kids into their cars and sent them into a house just 5 minutes far from my dad's farm. And they gathered more and more, and there was more than like 1,000, not like more than, there was so many Yazidi people. It was unbelievable, like to think about how at the beginning we thought there was no Yazidis left because there was so many, to the point my mom went around and was looking for her family because she thought they were also caught, because they put us in the school. They gathered so many Yazidis. You barely had place to sit down. And then they told them, you have to give us your gold, your phones, and all of your valuable stuff. And they're like, if we find a phone on you, we're gonna shoot you on the head right away. So at that place, some of my family members give out their gold and their phones and everything. And my mom decided she doesn't want to do that, and she hid her gold. And from there, we were taken to a school in Tilafar, and in that school where I'm trying to explain to you, my mom was trying to find her family because she thought there was no Yazidis left, because there was so many Yazidi kids and women in that school, like you barely had place to lay down. And there was a lot of Yazidis, and we were being transferred from a school to a different school, held captive in a school, being taken to a jail. And I was in the second location, where I was August 15. So on August 15 was one of the most horrible days for the Yazidi people at that time, because on August 15, ISIS invaded the village of Cocho. It's a village a little further away from Shingal. And in Cocho, they told them that you have to convert into Islam. When the Yazidi people refused, and the Yazidi people decided they don't want to do that, they took everybody and put them into the big school of Cocho. And at the school, they did the exact same thing they did to my family, and they separated everybody, and they took the the young boys and the men of Cocho and separated them into different groups and took them about 2-3 kilometers away from the village, and they killed them, all of them, more than 500 young boys and men, and massacred them, and destroyed the village, took their women's and brought them to the school we were staying in. And when we came back and we saw, and they did the same thing they did to the men, to the elders of Cocho, took them to Solah and massacred them, killed like 100 elder, because to them they didn't had a they had no reason to keep the elderly women alive, because they couldn't use them for sexual slavery or for labor or like making them do anything. So they thought the best plan was to just kill them in a big thing, and you know what I mean? Just massacre all those elder women and the boys and the men of Cocho. And they brought the women to where we were staying, and we were being transferred to a different location every once a while to try to make sure the Iraqi government doesn't find us or like saves us or like have us come home safe ever again. And throughout that time, all they were doing, taking the women, the girls into slavery and taking them for themselves or like to, you know what I mean? And try to convince the other Yazidis into Islam, telling them, you have no other choice other than converting into Islam to stay alive or for us to keep you.
Yeah. You never saw your dad again after August 3rd, correct? August 3rd or August 4th. You don't know what happened to your dad. Your dad was gone. Your grandfather was dead. He had been killed too. Your dad was probably killed as well, correct?
You know, when you find more than 83 mass graves around Shingal only, we're not going to talk about Mosul, we're not going to talk about Tel Afar or the other further away cities and provinces. It doesn't give you hope because Yazidi people were less than a million in Shingal or less than 500,000 in Shingal only. So when you see 83 mass graves, it doesn't give you any hope that any of them is ever gonna be home or gonna be back because 83 mass graves is a big number, and all those numbers are humans, and they were killed just for believing in the same God that they believe in. And Yazidis, we have the same praise as the as Islam. There's no other than God. Like Yazidis believe in God, and we believe everybody has their differences and or their ways of believing in God. And killing all of those innocent people, it's just it builds a lot of madness toward Iraq or like the government and how they just could let something like this happen to the Yazidi people.
So they captured you, they separated you, they took the men and the older boys, they left the women and the children, and continued to move you all over the place so that you would not be found by the government that was trying sort of to help you, but it was also dangerous to be found because there were bombs being dropped as well. So can you explain that a bit? The Iraqi government did know where you were or where the groups of Yazidi people were, and yet still it was so dangerous for you, even from the Iraqi government, not just from ISIS.
Yes, so when we were being transferred between places, my family managed to get a phone, and one of my aunts was brave enough to risk it and call her family member, call other people, try to help us find a way back, way home, or find a way out. So when that happened, and the information got it to the at the time leader of Iraq, Noor al-Maliki, we got a call from him, and he talked to my aunt, and we were trying to explain to him what had happened and begging him, my aunt begging for a way out or like for safety. Um, from what I know, he promised my family to help us, and they they had a plane just throw some bombs around us, thinking that that's gonna let Daesh run away and we're just gonna be free. So when that happened, the ISIS just came and hid in between us, like taking like human shield, or like making sure that they don't get killed, because they knew the Iraqi government wouldn't kill us, so they just came and hid where we were staying. And when that happened, we were transferred to a different place, at midnight, making sure that the government won't find us.
So you were moved many, many times into big buildings, schools, prisons, empty prisons. Can you explain that a bit?
So when they took over Mosul and Tel Afar, um, and they were opening up the prisons, because the Iraqi government and the Kurdish government unfortunately ran away during all of that and left the people by themselves without anything to defend themselves with, or anybody to defend them. So when they ran away, the Daesh opened the prisons and got out all the Sunni prisoners and had them join them, like be with them, be free. And they killed around 700 Shia prisoners in the same prison we were being held in. And when we went, or when they took us into that prison, you could still smell the blood or see the blood on the walls. And it was a terrifying place to be in, or like it was one of the scariest places for myself that I've seen, and it was horrible.
And they took the bodies of the Shia and they put them in a mass grave right there outside the prison, right?
Yes, it was
So,
founded after the genocide and after a few years.
so I'm imagining this because I'm a mother. I have two daughters. They're a bit older than you are. And your mom was looking after her whole family. And were you the oldest one of the family?
Yes, I'm the oldest, and
So you're the oldest of six, correct? And
yeah,
she was looking after six children. The oldest one was 10, and the youngest was how old?
my youngest brother, or my baby brother, was born only 10 days before the genocide.
Yeah, without a husband. So she's doing all of this by herself. You talk up in the book many times about how resilient, how strong, how extremely smart, clever your mom was in order to keep you all safe. And at the end of it all six of you were safe. All six of you came to Calgary with your mom. How did she do it? What did your mom do so that you would not be sold off as a sex slave? Because you were 10 years old when you were captured, but there were 9-year-old girls that were being sold off as sex slaves already. So, how
Yeah,
did your mom keep you and the rest of the kids safe?
at that time, my brother, everybody was safe except myself. I would say, because I was the oldest, and like it said in the book, like from the age of 9 and above were being taken into sexual slavery. So when we were being held captive in Iraq, between prisons to prisons, and we ended up in a small Shia village that was emptied by ISIS. At first, my mom made sure that I hide myself with my other cousins my age, and to be away from people's eyes, or like to make sure nobody sees me. And being moved so many times, it was very hard to be hidden or to hide a lot, because what if they just decide to move them right away and I'm not with my mom? So when that happened, my mom decided she's gonna make me look like a boy. And unfortunately, when we were taken to Syria after a while in Iraq, in Syria, nobody was safe. They were taking the boys that were stayed with their moms because they were younger than 18 or younger than 17, and very young boys. um, were being taken into like to become ISIS fighters or to fight for them or and teach them their prayers. So in Syria and Raqqa slave market, when we were there, I was my mom made sure I looked like a boy, and I wasn't safe because they want to take me to fight because I look like a boy. So my mom took my hat off and told them I was a girl, and then she made sure she gave them false information or false age number and told them I'm only 8 years old. And when she saw that, like I'm growing up and like I'm getting older, at the beginning, um, I wouldn't eat even if there was food for us to eat or even when ISIS provided food. So I could look as small as possible and make sure I look nothing like my age and just stay skinny and small. So they believe that I'm 8 years old. So being sold 7 times and from different ISIS to different ISIS, some of them didn't wouldn't just believe it. So my mom didn't have any other choice just to think. And she's very smart. My mom is a very smart woman. So she came with the idea of just cutting my hair like from here and telling ISIS that I'm mentally unstable and I'm crazy and they don't want to have anything to do with me because I'm crazy. And from that day on, I would make funny faces and have my finger in my mouth and making sure that I actually look like a mentally unstable person. And I didn't talk from that day on. And I ended up not speaking for about a year and a half to 2 years to be safe and to stay with my mom and escape ISIS and their sexual slavery thing or like to not be taken from my mom.
So you and your family and some aunties and some cousins were under ISIS control, were captured by ISIS for, is it 3 years?
Almost 3 years.
3 years. So how did you get away? How did you finally get free?
So from the Raqqa slave market, they decided they want to sell us, and like I said, we were sold 7 times to different ISIS members throughout the 3 years. When from Raqqa, they took us to Haseba. It's in Iraq. Um, and then being sold to one ISIS to another, and the situation getting worsened, and as trying to escape and find our way home, we tried many times. There was another Yazidi woman with us. She was a little bit older. My mom gave us her gold that she hid from ISIS in my little brother's diaper, and she's like, "Go free yourself because um, I have I have nothing else to lose." She sent me and my brother with the lady, and we went and found a taxi, and he was willing to help us in exchange of that gold, because at the time, like it was very expensive, and there was barely anything for people to eat because ISIS ruined the Iraq's economy and everything in every way possible. And when that happened, and we went to the Turkish border, no, the Syrian border, and from there we needed an identification card in order to be able to go into Turkey or anywhere other than ISIS-held areas or territories. Um, so we didn't have anything, and we couldn't go to ISIS and ask for a paper because we need to leave because they would recognize us and know that we're Yazidis and we're trying to escape. So it didn't work out, unfortunately, and we came back, and that happened a few times. One time at the door, um, the ISIS caught us, and he beat my mom and that old lady and us a lot and like and treated them so badly, and it hurts so much to even like remember or like think about it. It was horrible and terrifying to see the way they treated the Yazidi people, or even after they forcibly converted the Yazidis into Islam, because you were still being forced to fast, to pray, and be their slave. So they ended up taking the lady away from us, and my mom and my siblings and myself were in that house with the ISIS's wife, and it was very dangerous. And then when they saw that we don't want to just give up and we were too much to handle, they just sold us from one ISIS to another. And when the situation got worse for them and they thought seven people were a lot to handle or to feed, because we were six kids and my mom, they found a guy in Nainawa. His name was Father Ali. He was in Haseba to get food, or I think like dates for his sheep, or his animal in his farm. An ISIS member ended up talking about us for him. And Father Ali already had some other Yazidi family. He was protecting them from ISIS and taking responsibility for them. Ahmed Sanat and his brothers' families. He agreed and he decided he wants to take us in too. So when the ISIS heard that, they took us from Haseba to Nainawa and they handed us to Father Ali, and had us stay in Nainawa, where it was so much closer to our homeland, Shingal. Um, so in Nainawa, in a village called Tilabella, we ended up staying with Ahmed Senat and his family. Ahmed Senat and his family decided they faked converted, and Father Ali being their friend before the genocide and didn't betray them. And he took them in and told ISIS that what they're saying is true and he will take the responsibility. So we were able to stay with Ahmed Senat and his family and his brothers for almost a year and something, and living with them and acting outside of the house, telling people that we all converted into Islam and we're just normal people. But in the house, or like further from ISIS, or like the people of the village, just ICE, his brother Ali helped us see young kids, and like how help young people and everybody to learn how to do the Yazidi prayers. So that's when he taught me and few other people how to pray. So when during the sunset, even though it was very dangerous, we would face the sun and pray the Yazidi prayers, and it was something so meaningful to finally find your people, find your culture, find your religion, even if it was dangerous. We tried to relive a little bit of the Yazidi religion there and keep it quiet so we're safe. In 2017, the situation in Nainawa and Mosul and where we were staying was also, there were war going on between Daesh and the Iraqi government and the Kurdish government and what so on. So that's when we couldn't stay in the village together anymore. So Father Ali took us to further from the villages and from everybody, and we stayed in some tent in a place like a desert. That was in February 9 of 2017. Um, we stayed in the tent for about 3 days, hoping that the Iraqi government again would find us and help us into finding our way home and stay with our family and be back. Unfortunately, it didn't work out like we were hoping. In a very early morning, the Iraqi government and their aircrafts came and were just flying around us, and we were so happy. We were so excited. We thought being Iraqis, it meant that the Iraqi government cares about us, even though going through all of that, we loved Iraq and we thought it's going to protect us and save us. So, in that early morning, the Iraqi aircrafts, we got some white sheet and have it up showing them that we're peaceful, we're Yazidis, and um, protect us, save us. Because we went through a lot through the 3 years in captivity. Unfortunately, the Iraqi aircraft just throws 9 bombs around those few tents that Yazidi cap Yazidi people were living in captivity. So when that happened, unfortunately, we lost 2 Yazidi kids and 13 other Yazidis were injured. It happened and the airplanes were gone and we were just there with everybody was running away and trying to protect themselves. My sister and my brother were injured and 11 other kids. So Father Ali put everybody in the back of his truck and trying to take them to the hospital and get them help. When that happened, they told us we have to go. We have to be further from where we were staying. And at that time, we could see the Yazidi mountain, the Shingal mountain. And my mom had a hope she would take my siblings and go behind the area and show them the Shingal mountain, tell them how that's where we belong, and telling my siblings about the mountain. And it only at that time it only had 2 lights up them up up top of the mountain because they were too scared to have like a lot of things visible. And my mom would always tell my 2 little siblings that that's our mountain and someday we're gonna get to these 2 lights and we're gonna be safe. And when my mom heard that they're trying to take us further from the mountain and into the deeper desert in Iraq, my mom was very scared. She just like, if we quit seeing this mountain, it's gonna be very hard to find our way back. And we're this close to the mountain for a reason, and we have to take advantage of that. If it's gonna cost us our life, it would be better than having to live like this for so many years and then just losing people after people and then not knowing what's gonna happen. Um, so my mom refused and talked to Father Ali and Ahmed Sanat. She told them she doesn't want to do that, and she begged them to help us to get home and to find our way back. The Iraqi government was very close to us, and the telephone signal was back. After only 13 days or longer, my sister was back from the hospital, and she had both of her legs injured, and she wasn't able to walk. And there were other Yazidi girls and Ahmed San's family members who were severely injured. So we had to wait for them to heal and to be able to walk because walking was our only way to escape if we really wanted to escape. So when everybody was back and healing, um, we tried to escape. When that happened, our first attempt failed, and the ISIS smuggler left us there when he heard some gunshots because the Iraqi government with Daesh were fighting over the area. So we had to get all into one car, and the boys and the men with us decided they run to get to the place we were staying in, and we had to come home very fast to make sure ISIS doesn't find out that we were trying to escape. Um, so after that, they told my mom that our plan failed and we have no other choice other than just going to the going further away. My mom still refused and begged them and just made sure we get a second chance. She says she's fine to risk everything, and they told my mom and another Yazidi woman that if you want to escape and get into safety, when ISIS gets us or tries to catch us, you have no other choice other than to throw your babies, and just like many other Yazidi people did in the mountain back in August 3rd, 2014. My mom told them she'll do anything. If she have to, she'll stay behind and be caught with the baby other than having to see ISIS take all of these young kids, because they had a lot of kids too. Ahmed Zanet and his brothers, and they had a lot of young Yazidi boys and girls, and it was getting extremely dangerous. So this being said, my mom agreed on any conditions. She just wanted to make sure that these young kids or like young adults are safe and ISIS doesn't take them into sexual slavery or take the boys and kill them. And April 28th of 2017 was our last attempt when we got new smuggler were willing to take us in exchange of money. So when that happened on April 28, 2017, we walked from Abu Khashab to Shingal, and we were back home in Shingal, and we were freed, and we were back again.
So you and your family, did you end up in Turkey or Iraq or Kurdistan
Um,
or Syria?
so when we went to the Syrian border and we were trying to go from Syria or like from the border to Turkey, like I said, we didn't have any identification
Right.
cards, so we weren't able to escape to Turkey. So from Abu Khashab, we walked to Shingal, where I'm from, and from there they took us to Kurdistan, to this exact hotel I'm staying in right now. And yeah, on the same day we were escaped, and to help us get our identifications and help us if anybody wants to immigrate to different countries. I was here in the hook where my mom decided, with some family member convincing her, that write your name and go to Canada and have a better future for your kids, because like nobody has future in Iraq because there's no jobs, there's no good education. Just take your kids and go for 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 a better future for them. At first, my mom was very hesitant because she was hoping she would stay behind and stay in Iraq to help or to wait for my dad, because at that time we still had hope that we were eventually gonna find my dad, and she didn't want to leave. She wanted to stay in case he's back again, or like she was waiting for her husband. But then my family told her, just go to Canada, take the kids, get them into good schools or like in school at least. And if he ever come back, you can come home and see him again and bring the kids back. Just please go for the sake of the kids. So my mom agreed, and we stayed 1 year in Shingal. My mom refused to stay in the refugee camps because she said she wants to be in the Yazidi mountain and in Shingal. Although it wasn't quite safe because there was so many bombs planted in the area, my mom still wanted to stay in Shingal. So we stayed in Shingal until June 22nd of 2018, and we moved to Canada.
Right. And you and your family came to Calgary, and you would have been 14, about 14 years old by then.
Yep.
You ended up in Calgary with your family, and what did you do then? Having been always like a natural born Canadian, I have no idea what it's like because we hear all kinds of things about how Canada is taking in too many immigrants, that we don't even have enough health care, we don't have enough space in schools and all that. From your point of view, as someone who was fleeing a war-torn country, your village is destroyed. Your grandfather's farm is destroyed. When you go back, you're right now, you are in Kurdistan, right? You're in the hotel where you fled the first time when you were actually free. What's it like? What's it like when you go back? You are in Iraq because you're married. You married someone from a refugee camp.
Yeah, unfortunately, right now, the situation is nothing better than, let's say, in 2017 or 2018. After the genocide and so many Yazidis went through all of this horrible stuff, like Ahmed Sanad's family, unfortunately, after the genocide and after all of them they went through, right now they live in refugee camps, and it doesn't matter if it's a crazy heat of August or if it's the winter and it's raining and the rain and water is getting into their tents. The situation is extremely terrible, and I feel so lucky or thankful that I had the opportunity to go to Canada for a better life or a better future. I was able to study. I was able to graduate high school. Um, I'm a culinary student at SAIT right now, building up my life. But being having to come here because my husband's immigration application is not working, and we've been waiting for 2 years, and it's very tough when you have to wait for so long for your partner to come, and especially in my situation, I love him so much, and I sometimes miss, like, it's like a lot very tough to be so far from the person you love. So coming here and being with him, it's very nice, but then we normally stay in Shingal, um, because that's where I like to be in Shingal. I like to be closer to the mountain, just like my mom. So we stay in Shingal, but then you come to Kurdistan and you see there's thousands of Yazidi people living in refugee camps after 12 years. So imagine being an immigrant or like a refugee, I mean, in your own country and not having like a good place to live. It's very sad and it's very unfortunate how the government can let that happen to its people or to the Yazidi people after they went through so much and after the Yazidi genocide, and they just let their people or the live in refugee camps, and you go back to Shingal, there is nothing built up or there's no good school, good education. The grade 12 have to come all the way from Shingal to Kurdistan to do their diploma exams, and there's two governments in Iraq right now, the Kurdish government and the Iraqi government, and neither of them is willing to do much for Shingal for some reason. Fran, even the Yazidi people just recently had to gather donations so they were able to build a small soccer area for their youth, because here they love soccer and everybody's just like they're playing in such a horrible place, calling it their soccer area, and then the government doesn't really do much for any Yazidis or for Shingal. So it's very sad, and I think I'm very thankful for Canada and for the government and the Canadian people that I had the chance to come here and to live in Calgary, to have a good education, and to have a place that deserves to call home. Because even right now, I'm here and I think I'm feeling homesick for Calgary. I'm like, I miss it so much because that's it. Like, that's where we belong right now. Because in Iraq, we didn't really had a good life. We didn't see fairness toward the Yazidi people, and there's no dignity. In Canada, we live with dignity, but here, like, what is it that your people, or like, just because, like, nobody knows why this is happening, because everybody's back in their homes, everybody's other cities are being built, but unfortunately Shingal is still the lowest one, with the worst roads, with no building, nothing is being built, the people are not home yet, and like I repeated so many times, like they're still in refugee camps. It's like, it's so unbelievable that I just want to keep saying it. Like,
Yeah.
it's very tough, especially like the heat here, the winter. Like, you're living in a tent for 12 long years.
What happened with your family and the life that you have now in Calgary. How can you compare that?
It's very hard to say, because here they're they're barely looking for situation to stay alive. Some people live, like, work so many hours for less than $25. And then in Canada, I think sometimes we take life for granted. With having a Canadian passport, I'm a proud Canadian, to be honest.
Is your whole family now, are they all Canadian citizens?
Yes,
Oh, so
except
you're
my mom.
right. And she just
Yeah.
has to decide, I guess. But your little sisters and brothers will have been raised like a Canadian, right? Your little
Yeah.
brother was so little. He was only 4 when you moved to Canada. What are the chances that the family, the kids, will ever go back to live in Iraq?
I think there's no chance of any of us ever seeing ourselves live here, because we saw a lot of unfairness toward the Yazidi people, and it's an ongoing thing. So when you see all of that, for myself, I haven't asked them that, but I know they really don't want to come to Iraq, because I was trying to convince one of them to come for a little bit to kind of learn about the Yazidi religion, and my siblings don't really want to come here, and you can't blame them, because in every street you go through, there is a horrible memory. There's something that reminds you of what happened. Because I was telling you, there's 83 mass graves, and most of them are just beside the street or the road that you're taking. And when you're going between Shingal to Duhok or to Kurdistan, the school that you were held captive is just there. You can see the Badush prison that you were held in captive. So everything just reminds you of what happened, and it's hard to say that I want to stay here because I love it so much. There's so many things that reminds you of the Yazidi genocide and what had happened, and it's very tough to live here.
So if you, okay, if I had a magic wand and I could give you anything you wanted, Roza, and I mean, probably one of them is the fact that you would want your husband to get his papers so that he can come and live with you. But what are your hopes for the future
Like, for myself, or
for yourself?
I think I just wanna, yeah, I want my husband to come to Canada to live with me, and then to be able to share the story and make sure that the Yazidi story and what happened never gets forgotten, because it's not something that happened and ended. Because in my opinion, I see as long as there is a single Yazidi woman missing, the genocide it's ongoing. Because until now, there's more than 1,000 Yazidi women, including two of my cousins, missing, and nobody knows what had happened to them. So I will wanna know what had happened to everybody, find them, even if I have to bring their bones home. I would want that because there's on Father's Day, I would want to have a grave to go see. During the Yazidi celebration, I would want to have my dad's grave to go and say Happy New Year, because I don't have that. I don't know what happened. Did the dogs or the animals eat them, or did they just went with the water, or like it just floated away? We don't know what happened, and it's very hard. So I would want the world to not forget about the Yazidi genocide and to find every single person, at least to try to know what had happened to them. Because I would be happy to even find my dad's bones and be able to bury him and have a beautiful ceremony that he deserves, and every other Yazidi that's been missing for 12 years.
So, how do you cope? You are a brilliant young woman. You speak English so well. You're educated, you're beautiful. How do you cope with all of that trauma? The capture, the starvation, the removing of your hair, which the hair in your Yasidi culture is sacred, the fact that your family got separated, the torture, the fear, the continual fear. Now you're safe in Canada. I mean, Canada's a fairly safe place, but how do you cope with the PTSD?
Um, I don't really, I've never tried anything or reached for help, and I think that's something I should have, but I mostly just keep everything to myself and keep myself busy, either with school, work, do other stuff, or writing this book really helped because you're just talking about it more. And it does hurt because every time I talk about it, it reminds me of a lot of stuff. It's been giving me nightmares recently, but it's a way of healing because I think talking about it, it's gonna heal me, and knowing that I'm helping or being a voice to the Yazidi women that are not able to talk is also something that makes me feel better about myself and makes me want to keep going and makes me wanna not want to stop or give up because I'm much stronger than that.
And we have to do a shout out to your teacher because
Absolutely.
I would not have even known about this book except that your teacher had posted it on a teacher site that I go on Facebook here in Alberta. He talked about the book and he talked about you. So, what's his name and how did he help?
Oh yeah, his name is Sean Steele, my co-author. He's such an amazing person, and he was a very great teacher. I met him in lead class, English language learning classes, when I first moved here. Um, being in lead, it was so hard for people to understand me. Like you said, being from Iraq, everybody assumed that I was Arab or Muslim. And at the beginning, I didn't really get along with the teachers because they weren't understanding me and I didn't have the English to explain myself. So it happened one day. It was during Ramadan, and then the teacher shared about Ramadan and all like what Muslims do. And it made me cry and just stepped out. I stepped out without telling her, and I didn't know what to do. It just reminded me of how ISIS was forcing us into slavery, into Islam, forcing us to fast, if we like it or not. So it made me super sad. And he came up to me and he wanted to know me and understand me. So I was telling him about try to tell him with the broken English of mine about the Yazidis and what we've been through. And then he Googled it and he kind of had an idea of who we are and what we've been through. So from that day on, he was more careful and he he learned more about me. And when I had the idea of writing the book, I talked to him and he supported my idea and he helped me. And we worked on the book for almost 4 years actually. And he had to come. I didn't speak English very well at that time, and it was so hard to explain every little detail. So he came with me to Iraq in 2023, and we went to my dad's farm, to our house, to Lalish, to Sharfuddin Temple, and we met some of the Yazidi people who fought and like the Yazidi heroes. And we kind of he got a better understanding of the book. And after that, we came home to Calgary, and then we worked on the book even more, and we were able to publish it through Dungeon Press.
Amazing. So, I mean, that's the power of teachers, I think. I mean, I don't think the teachers get enough credit for
Mm,
for
yeah.
actually what they can do to help their students. Uh, yeah, there's a lot of stories that I know that that of teachers helping someone like in their classroom. But anyway, we're almost at the end of time. You've given me so much of your time, Rosa. Thank you so much. And
Thank you so much for
oh, it's
having
been
me.
so good to have you. Is there a last message of hope that you have for our audience? Our show is called Hopenning, the place where hope is happening. What's your message of hope for someone right now who might be struggling? And it could be a person who has immigrated, or it might be a person, Indigenous people in Canada as well, have had a type of eradication as well with colonialism and are suffering the effects of post-colonialism. Oh, is there a message of hope you have for our viewers right now who have listened to your story and have seen you come out the other side, a brilliant young woman, strong and filled with compassion and caring still? What's your message of hope?
I think I want to tell them to believe in themselves and to keep going even though if they think it's not gonna work out. Because having hope, it's kind of one of the biggest reasons for people to like keep going and to try again and again, like like we did. Remember, like we tried multiple attempts, but we had the hope to survive and we had the hope to live a better life, and we knew we deserved it, and we never give up. So I think hoping and never don't not giving up on what you want to do in the future or is very important, to know that you deserve a better life and you deserve to be happy. Yeah.
Yeah, it's beautiful. Well, thank you, Rosa. And for anyone who hasn't subscribed yet, please subscribe. The button is just below. Subscribe to Hopening, and you will have hope in your inbox in all kinds of different ways every week. And comment, like, subscribe, share Roza's story with other people who may need to hear some of the stories of what happens in the outside world, because like you said, we take things for granted. We do take things for granted until it's not here anymore. And then you wish that you were more thankful at the time, right? But thank you, Roza. Thanks for being with
Thank you
me.
so much for having me.
This podcast and Inspired Healing Hypnotherapy do not provide medical advice. The information included here is not limited to text, graphics, images, or other material contained, and are for informational purposes only. No material in this podcast is intended to be a substitute for professional medical advice, diagnosis, or treatment. Always seek the advice of your physician or other qualified healthcare provider with any questions you may have regarding a medical condition or treatment, and before undertaking a new healthcare regimen, and never disregard professional medical advice or delay in seeking it because of something you have heard on this site.